What is up YouTube, RisksHD here, back again today with another Modern Warfare video, and oh boy, today do I have a good video for all of you shotgun fans. If you didn't know, recently Infinity Ward did decide to buff the slug round ammunition on the shotguns, which was kind of well deserved because it was a bit lackluster, but I think they went a bit overboard and now they are just busted. I'm getting absolutely outrageous kills with the model at like 40 plus meters, which in my opinion is just criminal using that gun. I've been having an absolute blast using it recently, and I hope that does show in the gameplay today. I must have hit like 2 split 6-ons, or basically clips that would have been a 6-on if they weren't split once. I hit a clean 5-on, a split 5-on, a 20 plus gun streak with a split 5-on in it. Triple headshot feeds, just nasty quad feeds, quad kills, and insane long distance kills, so I definitely recommend sticking around through the entire video because this should be a good one. So don't forget to subscribe at any point if you do enjoy as well. And I almost forgot to mention, the icing on the top of the cake is that on top of everything I just mentioned, I also got 1 or 2 funny rage messages from enemies that I killed, so you should see them during the video as well. It's just one of the perks of using a shotgun. I know it's a bit scummy, but you know, it's kind of funny when people rage. Anyway though, I thought some people would like to see the class that I've been rocking, so you can try it out yourself and have some fun, and if I've done a somewhat decent job editing the video, you should see it on your screen right now. There isn't too much to this class really. I'm running both the 18-inch Liberator barrel and the Forged Tac Marauder muzzle to extend the damage ranges as far as I realistically can without slowing down the gun too much. Personally though, I think the 30-inch Sport barrel, the one that I don't run, is a bit overkill, and the relatively minor increase to the range isn't really worth slowing down the gun as much as it does, but each to their own I guess. If you guys want to run it, then I definitely recommend it, as obviously making a class is about making a class for you and fitting your playstyle the best. I also run the no stock and either the XRK True Grip Tactical or the Merc Foregrip on the underbarrel. Again, that's just really down to personal preference between the XRK True Grip and the Merc Foregrip. I'll just swap between the two whenever I feel like it, although I think technically the XRK underbarrel is better though. I just use these attachments to help me move a bit faster and aim down sight faster, which lets me subsequently lock onto targets faster, and it's really important with this gun because the hipfire is awful, which I'll get onto later. It's really important that you aim down sight quite quickly. And obviously the 5th attachment are the slug rounds. Personally, I prefer the rounds separate from the magazine, so I get 8 bullets and I can reload 1 at a time instead of reloading kind of 6 but faster. That's just the way I prefer it, but if you guys prefer the slug rounds in a magazine, then you can definitely run that instead. I think now would be a good time for me to explain the only real downside to using the slug rounds, and I'll also explain why it's not really a big deal in the grand scheme of things afterwards. So the downside, as I mentioned before, is that the hip fire just becomes absolutely dreadful, which makes sense really because obviously you're firing slugs which kind of just fires as, you know, one slug. So you don't get that familiar buckshot pellet spread, which is really helpful up close. However, now I'll quickly explain a mechanic to do with the shotguns, which will then help me explain why the downside isn't that big of a deal. So if you didn't know, when you aim down sight with a shotgun using, you know, the regular buckshot ammo, it actually tightens the spread of the pellets that you fire. And obviously this mechanic isn't realistic at all because obviously if you aim down sight with a shotgun, it doesn't make the pellets, you know, go tighter. But it does help balance out the shotguns in the game because it means up close you don't need to be accurate, but at longer ranges, if you aim down sight and are accurate, you can still land a lot of pellets, which is kind of a... Also, the more pellets you land, the more damage you deal, if you didn't know that as well. So it's kind of like a fair trade-off. It's also worth noting that some shotguns tighten up the spread more than others. For example, the VLK Rogue doesn't really tighten up much, whereas the model tightens it up a significant amount, which means when I'm using the model regularly during most of my gunfights, unless I'm extremely close range, I'm aiming down sight because that's how it's most effective, because you're obviously landing most of the pellets if you're being accurate. So again, with the slug rounds, the only time it actually puts me at a disadvantage is at a really close range where I'd be hip firing with the model. Anywhere from there onwards, as long as I'm hitting upper torso, the slugs are just way more consistent because you don't need to worry about that semi-random pellet spread. I hope I explained that somewhat decently. It was a bit confusing to explain, but yeah, I also will now talk about Warzone. I really wouldn't recommend using the model in Warzone because of the increased health, and having to land 2 or 3 shots increases your time to kill so much because of the pump action animation, which means that using an AR or an SMG is just so much better. And also ARs and SMGs are much more forgiving if you miss a few shots. However, if you really did want to use the model and just try it out in Warzone, I'd recommend using the class that I recommended earlier, except I'd swap out the 18-inch barrel for the 30-inch Sport barrel, just so you can be a little bit more effective at those longer ranges, because, you know, Warzone is all about long-range gunfights, and I'm not really sure the model would be your best bet for Warzone. I think the Origin is apparently insane up close. Like if you're waiting on a stairwell with the Origin, it has one of the fastest times to kill in the game. And also the 725 is really good with the slug rounds in Core game modes, when you have 100 health, I believe it has like an infinite one-shot kill range, although I may be wrong. So yeah, the model definitely isn't the best shotgun for Warzone, but if you do really want to try it, then that's the class that I'd recommend. I also think it might be fair to me to say that the Model 680 with the slug rounds is kind of OP now in core game modes. The gun I compare it to the most is like the Mark II carbine, so I think the model with slugs actually has better damage ranges than the Mark II carbine, which is kind of weird to get your head around, and from my experience I get way fewer hit markers with it. However, the Mark II carbine is much more mobile and has a faster aim down sight speed, so that makes it a bit more effective up close, and it helps you move around the map a bit faster, which is just great as well. However, it's my understanding that, and do correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section below if I'm incorrect, but snipers and marksman rifles do have aim assist in Modern Warfare, but it's just not as strong as it is for all the other guns like ARs, SMGs and shotguns, otherwise the snipers would be absolutely busted. So while you're using the model with slugs, you're getting more aim assist than you would with the Mark II carbine, which obviously makes it much easier to use. Like, any gun that's one-shot kill with aim assist is really quite strong, obviously compared to one that doesn't. So in my opinion, the slug rounds may require a small nerf, but obviously you don't want to nerf them to the point that they're totally unusable, because they are obviously much more high skill to use than the regular buckshot. Perhaps they could make it so they travel slightly slower through the air, so you've kind of got to lead your shot slightly more, or maybe make it so there's more drop on the slug, so you need to aim higher at longer ranges. But at the same time, the slug Model 680 is really not very good in Warzone, so it really would be quite challenging to balance the gun correctly for both game modes. Anyway though, I feel like I've rambled for absolutely ages. If I have any more clips or gameplay, then I'll let it play out in the background for the rest of the video. I hope you all did enjoy the video though. If you did, then please do consider dropping a like, and if you didn't, then comment down below how I can improve my videos, as I'm always looking to make better content and feedback is always greatly appreciated. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this one, and as always, this has been Risks HD, and I hope you legends have a fantastic week.